Welcome to the BNB Investing Podcast for real estate investors. Fix and flippers and realtors exploring investment options with Airbnbs and short-term rentals through acquisition, leasing, or management to generate consistent monthly revenue. Join us for a chat with experienced and successful short-term rental investors to hear their story of how they got started and created wealth by building scalable businesses. We also explore various service providers and lenders that help make our businesses more efficient and maximize revenue in this awesome sharing economy. Welcome your host, Rich Monroe.
Hey everyone, Rich Monroe here with BNB Investing Group. Thanks for jumping on this week. To remind you guys, BNB Investing Group helps investors, seasoned and new, to kind of navigate through the options of the short-term rental model. And we explore whether you're going to be buying properties as fix and flips and holding for short-term rental, or doing the master lease rental arbitrage strategy, or managing for other investors. We kind of navigate all those different options and help folks get started with that. And so I'm happy to say I've got my friend Timothy Jones here today with us. Tim is one of our clients in the BNB investing program. And we're going to touch on his experience so far, kind of where he's been so far, kind of where he's going, and everything in between. So thanks again for everybody that's jumping on. If you can hear us okay, just throw us a quick yes in the comments so we know that. So Tim, thanks for jumping on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Rich. Yeah, man, I've just been really interested in real estate since the 7th grade, actually. It's a funny story. I was at church during the 2007, 2008, real estate crash. I'm sure everyone's familiar with. And a real estate agent at my church during a youth summer program told me I should probably think about doing something else rather than anything real estate related. Because at the time I wanted to be an agent. And I remember every day after church, my mother would take us to like up and coming neighborhoods in like the Ellenwood, Decatur area that connects around that area. They were building so many houses, so many new subdivisions. My mom would just go to those houses and just take us to look at them at open rooms after church. And that's one of my real fond memories. And after that, we'd go home, make dinner, and then sit at the living room and watch HGTV. Watch them throw sledgehammers at the wall, jump, do all types of stuff. And, from that, I just really always been interested in houses, and I took an interest in the house that we were living in. Like I was always interested in like how things worked, from cars, houses, because it kind of branched off from homes, but, that's how my real estate love, kind of grew. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. You kind of started before that doing e-commerce and
Oh yeah.
marketing.
Right now, yeah. So I've always been selling things, like buying and reselling things, like on platforms such as like StockX, Goat, Mercari, eBay, Poshmark, Amazon, Walmart. There's another website that sells refurbished goods called Backmart, if you're familiar with it. But I've always just it's real simple business. You buy something for the low and you sell it for the high, try to create a spread.
It's not much different than real estate, right?
Yeah, not much different. Mm-hmm.
And so you got started. Talk to us about how you got started with your first property.
So for my first property, was another funny story. Unfortunately, my grandmother passed away probably like half a decade ago, and the house was just sitting there rotting for probably, double that time, because my grandmother was living with us, and my father's friend was living there, right? And the agreement was that he would fix up the property while he's living there in place of rent. And his rent was knocked down to essentially $300 for a 2,200 square foot home, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, right? But the home was becoming more and more decrepit, Rich. It was falling, essentially about to fall. There's a lot of stair step cracking in the brick. But then came a time where, I was doing really well in my e-commerce business, and my mother offered it to me and my brothers. And my brother and his wife was going to take the home initially, but, that didn't go through. And, like I said, the house is deteriorating at an accelerated rate. To give you an idea, it did not have gutters. Roof had holes in it. There were leaks everywhere. Foundation was terrible. There's a lot of, uneven surfaces in the home. So just to give you an idea, but And on top of that, property taxes were due. And the guy that was living there no longer wanted to pay rent. So with that being said, had to get him out of there. And from that, the home had a lot of equity in there. I thank God for the property appraiser that came by, because that house was not supposed to be. It was basically supposed to. What do you call it when they knock a house off? Is not livable.
Demoed.
It was demoed. It was supposed to be demoed. Like it starts with a D. I forgot the word, but it was missing a lot of things. It was still on fuse boxes, a lot of lead piping in the plumbing, and it was plumbing that was leaking underneath the house. It was really bad, but it appraised at 216, and then from that, the bank gave me 80% of that, and I paid off. Oh, let me back up a little bit. I paid off the original mortgage in order to do that, so I just pulled out all the equity from that and fixed up the house.
Very nice.
Yeah,
very nice. So, how much did it take to get it back up to par?
It was over 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the first listing that you set up on Airbnb?
Yeah, that was my first listing.
So what made you decide to do short-term rentals instead of long-term?
Because you probably be more profitable, you make more money. And with long-term rentals, someone would get in there, probably not take as good care of the house, but with short-term rentals, the house is literally always in for sale condition. If someone breaks something, you can get it replaced right after they check out. Little things like that. It's just more peace of mind, and plus, it keeps me in a business mindset. So it keeps me on top of things.
All right, very cool. And so, how long ago was that when you started putting it on Airbnb and listing it as a short-term rental?
Yeah, I launched September 1st, 2022.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're coming up on a year.
Yes, sir. Almost at the year mark.
All right, very cool. Let's take a quick look while we're on the topic. So this is the property here, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So 100,000 goes a long way, huh?
It seems like it does, It seems like it does.
Let's take a closer look.
Oh, but with that, also, I want to throw in, a little monkey wrench. It was because this is also like my first house, so there was a lot I didn't know. So there was a lot of mistakes I made. I'm pretty sure I could have done exceptionally cheaper if I were to do it again.
Looks nice.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I tried my best.
So it was 100 to get it. Was it right at 100 or a little bit over 100?
Yeah, it was a little bit over.
All right, and then that doesn't count furnishing and setting it up for short term.
Yeah, that includes furnishing as well. New cabinets, new cabinets, new countertop stone, refinishing the floor, and then putting the finish over it. I added that bathroom right there where you're looking at as well.
Very nice, very nice. Good job.
Yeah, like I said, we were just trying my best. New what do you call those? Vanities, new vanities and new mirrors. And then I expanded that bathroom right there, made one of the closets smaller.
Very nice, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is in what part of Atlanta?
This is in Decatur.
In Decatur, okay.
Yeah, about 15, 20 minutes from everything else. Right on 20 and 285.
All right, and Timmy is a super host, and your average reviews are 4.99 with 71 reviews.
Yeah, only one hater. Only one. She tried to change it though.
Yeah.
She tried to change it.
So no, that's definitely commendable for your first short-term rental. That's what we teach everyone to do. This is a hospitality business, and it's all about the good reviews. And so once you start getting these good reviews, you can start commanding a premium, because as guests are booking, that's what they're going to look at, right? So, So no, that's an awesome first step. Now, so walk us through kind of where we are now compared to now. Okay, you had that listing up and running, and then where was the next steps from there?
Yeah, so as we're almost at the 1 year anniversary that I launched. I have a exponentially greater understanding of how the business operates, especially being a student of yours and actually being in the business and seeing the in and outs, what can go wrong, but also what could go right. So with that said, I'm trying to scale. I just got my second arbitrage. I just got my second deal, which is an arbitrage deal. I'm on the west side of Atlanta. Working on my third right now, which should be confirmed by the end of today, hopefully. And from there,
Nice.
I'd like to be up to 10 units by the end of 2023.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. So what made you decide to go the rental arbitrage or the master lease route?
I'm more so interested in that route because, you know, you can only do so much. I don't want, with interest rates right now, they're so high that your money doesn't go as far as it was going in 2020, 2021. So with that being said, I'd like to get the in and outs in knowledge base of scaling, right? Without having, well, we want the ownership, but yeah, no, so let me back up. Yeah, so basically to scale, to scale stably,
Well, I mean,
because
when we,
out
yeah,
there.
I mean, when we first got started, we already had many rental properties. We were in the tax lien business, so we had properties scattered all over the place in Macon, Augusta, and Savannah, and most of them were long-term rentals. But when we decided to pivot and shift over to doing short-term, we actually did rental arbitrage, even though we had properties we owned, for that same reason that you mentioned. It's a lot easier to kind of sign a lease for 12 months or 24 months and put furniture in it than it is to buy a house, whether you're doing it distressed or
Mhm.
all the deals you have to go through to get the mortgage. Some people have a hard time wrapping their head around the concept, but the way that I looked at it, and you probably are very similar, is you're investing in a net cash flow, right?
Yeah,
So it may take me $7,000 or $8,000 to get that unit set up. If it's a one bedroom, obviously on a 3 or 4 bedroom, it's going to be more. But I'm taking that investment, and what I'm doing is I'm buying the future net cash flow on that one unit
hmm
that typically is going to be on the low end around 1,000 for one bedrooms, and on the high end, 2 or 3,000 on the 3 or 4 bedroom houses. And so if you kind of do a mindset shift and kind of look at it from that perspective, to your point, you get one property and you're netting 1,500 or 2,000, and you kind of set a goal to get 10. All of a sudden, you've got 15 to 25,000 in cash spitting off every month consistently
yeah,
as
exactly.
income.
Yeah,
And
and
so,
can I bounce off of that also? And also,
sure.
like, you know how the lending process works as well. Another reason that I was really interested in the rental arbitrage strategies, because when banks see your gross, the amount how much money you're grossing, although your spread may not be as large as if you own the property, you had a cheaper mortgage. I mean, banks only care about the gross amount. So with that being said, you can scale much quicker, when interest rates are favorable, and for our business, um, when the opportunity arises,
No, right. So there's nothing wrong with buying, right? So today we have properties that we own and that we've purchased and rehabbed and set up as well. And it's a similar concept with managing properties. You don't own the property; it's someone else's, but I'm going to earn 25% of that monthly revenue. So, and if you can throw all those into the same operational basket, it's all about kind of where can you get for your monthly cash flow.
mm-hmm.
So let's take a step back. So you earlier this year you became a member in BNB Investing Group, and you told me just that you wanted to grow to 10 units and by the end of the year. And so how has that journey been in terms of getting to where you are now? You have a second property and a third about to get onboarded. Walk us through what that experience has been like.
It's been pretty, smooth, a little bit hectic. There was some I had to say no to that were in pretty bad shape, or they wanted too much money where I wouldn't be profitable. But for the ones that did say yes, well, also I've been utilizing a virtual assistant also who's been extremely helpful, for my business, and I'm very grateful for her. Um, but and I found her on Upwork, by the way, taught by Rich. Yes, but. Uh, Yeah, one thing I've noticed is that for a lot of the opportunities that I'm coming across, it's mostly people who are doing Airbnb or want to do Airbnb but just don't have the time, not or knowledge base, because their main source of income, their main job requires so much of their time. So they're more so concerned with finding somebody who's knowledgeable and, competent enough to make sure their house doesn't burn down or something crazy happens to it and can take over from where they left off. So with that being said, if you can find those people, because they are out there, there's an opportunity. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. So some of you have already started putting questions in the comments. That's awesome. Keep doing that. And we're going to save some time towards the end to kind of tackle those. So any questions as you guys are watching, feel free to throw that in the comments like you've been doing, and we'll tackle those here in a minute. So, the whole concept of prospecting kind of deters people, right? I mean, you got to roll your sleeves up. You got to make some phone calls. You got to go look at properties, and not everybody's going to say yes. But the ones that, when you're consistent and persistent about it, ultimately you're going to get to the ones that end up working out. And not every deal is going to make sense number wise either. You might have somebody say, "Oh yeah, sure, no problem. We can do a master lease with you. That's not an issue." And then you go back and run the numbers, and the margins are too tight, and so you're going to have to say no to that one too. So you've got to really have discipline to be a little bit patient. You don't want to just jump on the first one that says yes. All of the different things and levers have to be in the right place in order to pull the trigger, right? And so part of that's part of what we help you with as well. And so we every deal that Tim looks at, we actually get on a call and we review it with him, and based on our experience, kind of help him make that decision and confirm that the market analysis is in fact where it comes out at, and that all the pieces in the lease are being negotiated correctly. That the second deal that you did, there were a couple moving pieces, right? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure. As far as the contract or the lease,
the lease, the contract, the prior owner, kind of, they already had it up and running as an Airbnb, right?
Yeah. So he had it up and running. He wasn't able to find reliable cleaners. He lives in New Jersey, so he's not even here. Because he wasn't able to find reliable cleaners, he had to unfortunately cancel. The last thing you want to do as an Airbnb host. And from that, he got bad reviews from the ones that did actually come in. So with that being said, with Airbnb, we all know maybe we don't. Airbnb is very much algorithm based. So when you do things that, upset the algorithm, such as getting negative reviews, cancellations, your listing takes a hit in the search bar. So based on that, he was losing a lot of money, and he had to pivot to lowering his price at basically selling the store for free. He was doing like $80 a night, basically trying to break even or whatever his mortgage was. And from that, my VA was able to locate him. He had an already furnished unit on Zillow. And from that, I was speaking with a real estate agent initially. We had a back and forth based on the numbers of what the rent should be, because she wanted to do a bit more because of the furniture that was already in there, but it was an exorbitant amount. But I was able to get her back down to earth, and we ended up closing a deal as well with getting an addendum in there in the event that Atlanta does say bye-bye to Airbnbs or anything Airbnb X'd out,
Right. And then how did we handle the existing reservations?
So for the existing reservations, he was able to make me the actual primary host. And I'm currently running the current reservations that were on there that he had prior to me even taking over, right? And then from there, we're crediting all the net amount from those listings to my rent that I would owe him. So I'm still incentivized to actually have listings on there because I'm being paid out for them.
Right. So guys, just so we're crystal clear here, not only did Tim get this master lease and rental arbitrage deal, but he also got it fully up and running, fully furnished, already turnkey. And so after negotiating the lease and putting in, crystal clear language that protects him, he's able to step in and immediately start generating revenue along with, the monthly expenses. And this was a 3-bedroom or 4?
It's a 3-2.
It's a 3-2. And so, rather than having those reservations kind of just, fall by the wayside and get canceled, he's basically able to set up a brand new listing block the calendar with those existing reservations so he can get new bookings on his new listing, but still be able to honor the old reservations and be able to generate the revenue from those as well. And obviously, over a 30, 60-day transition, eventually the old listing will go away completely and it'll all be on the new listing. And so, that's another way to kind of quickly jump in. I think the owner was originally suggesting that you wait until October or something to start.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we did the review, we said, no, let's get control of this thing before, as soon as we can and start, jumping in there. And so, one of the benefits of getting something fully furnished, of course, is, no matter what you do, even when we were setting up 8 units at a time, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to do that. And, to order the items, and a lot of stuff comes from Amazon, which is pretty quick, but some of those items do take a little bit of time. And so no matter what you do, it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks. So what does that do? That burns up your first month, right? The first 30
Mm-hmm.
days. And so to be able to step into a property that's already up and running and turnkey is kind of the best case scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are going to pay a little bit of a premium on the monthly rent, but clearly, you have to kind of do the math and make sure that all you're really doing is financing what that would have cost you up front by having it be a little bit of a higher lease amount in the payment. But it works out seamlessly for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the third one, which you're about to hopefully get locked in today, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's that one looking like?
So with that one, it's in the west end of Atlanta. It's already furnished, like I said. Furniture's in there. It's a beautiful property. Has a foosball table. Has the green wall with the neon letters in the middle of it that everyone loves. So just to give you an
Instagrammable, Instagrammable.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's all about the guest experience.
Yeah. So just to give you an idea, it's already up and running. I don't even know why she needs me other than she's moving to Dallas and she won't be here anymore to take care of it. So with that, like when opportunities come, when preparation meets opportunity, you can take advantage. So with this being said, she wants $2,700 a month for rent, but me and Rich did the numbers on it. We could do about $5,500 a month net. And then and like I said, with BNB Investing Group also, we do a lot with the price optimization. Hold on, let me take a step back. Oh, I got ahead of myself. Okay. With BNB Investing Group, we learn a lot about price optimization, property management, in structuring everything to where it's ran like a business, right? So with the $5,500 that we could be making, based on doing price dynamics and implementing the correct software, we could potentially beat the market. So with that being said, she showed me her analytics from 2022, and based on what she was doing without the correct implementations, it was still really good, even for what she's offering it to me for. But like I said, with the correct implementations, you can really make a killing out there. So with that being said, I mean, it's a great opportunity for me right now that I'm trying to close on. So hopefully it's done by the end of the day.
Oh, very cool. And so, to your point, I mean, typically when we do our analysis, we try to be conservative, and we typically do our 12-month forecast based on what the current market is averaging. And we kind of drill down, obviously, to comps that are very similar to the property that you're looking at as the prospect property. But what tends to end up happening, to Tim's point, because we are running this like a business, a lot of the hosts that are out there are individual mom and pop hosts that aren't doing a lot of the strategies and the additional platforms that we are employing here. And so after that first 60 to 90 days and you start getting your 5-star reviews, ultimately we're going to be commanding a premium on that nightly rate. And as a result of that, getting more bookings. And so, typically we're going to outperform the market average in most cases by 20 to 30% after that initial 3 months. And so essentially that just means more revenue because we do the initial analysis conservatively. Essentially that's worst case scenario that you can kind of hang your hat on and then, be able to improve on that. And so let's take a few of the questions that are out here. Let me see here. Let me start with, okay, so how are you prospecting is one of the questions.
So again, I'm prospecting with a virtual assistant that I acquired through Rich's training. He's taught me how to go on Upwork.com and find a virtual assistant that will help locate me opportunities that, you know, she'll communicate to me on a daily basis. And we kind of have a relationship where she'll just put the address, whether or not it's short-term rental approved, whether it's furnished and things of that nature, you know, how many bedrooms, how many baths, in a spreadsheet. And from there, every morning I just review it, see, let her know, give her my feedback. And from there, I pay her commission based on every property we find that I actually close sign on.
How much is the commission?
$600.
Okay, so that's $600 well spent for your time and efforts to not have to make all those phone calls, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she kind of prioritizes down to the ones that she's weeded out that fits certain criteria. And by the time you get involved, it's already kind of on its way to getting to be, you know, you know that it's approved, that you can do short-term rentals or corporate housing. And then it's just a matter of kind of pre-qualifying it from there to confirm before you set the appointment.
One thing to be mindful of, though, on Upwork, there are a lot of scammers on there. So I did have to kind of give her a bit of money up front for her time, you know, so that she is incentivized and knows that I'm serious about this. And, you know, after I paid her off from the first property, you know, she went straight to work. You know,
Nice.
She knew I was serious from that. So that was it.
All right. Very cool. And so another question is, I'm sure it's more market dependent, but what does a good arbitrage typically look like?
I would say, I mean, it depends. Yeah, like you said, it's market depending on how many bedrooms and baths it has, how many people you can sleep in the house, and what the actual rent is. So, I mean, I'd say to stay under $2,000 for an Atlanta property that has 3 bedrooms, and as long as you know you're furnished. But you have to also to keep in mind whether or not it's furnished or not, because I kind of got in at a good deal at $1,700 furnished in Atlanta. So, I mean, there's a lot of dynamics you have to take into account as well. I mean, if you're in Decatur at an unfurnished place at like $1,400, I mean, you have to take into account how nice you want to make the property, how nice you want your pictures to be, because pictures are very much what sells on Airbnb. They don't know where they're staying most of the time. They're booking off of the pictures. If you can make the pictures look nice with the amount of money you're spending on furniture, that's what's going to get you your biggest return. So, taking into all that account, it's a lot of dynamics you have to think about. But just to make things simple, I mean, if you just go IKEA in Atlanta, right? Most rent in Atlanta is around $1,800, and then you probably spend about $15,000 furnishing a 3-2, right, Rich? In Atlanta, I mean, 15
to do it right.
Right. And then you have to think about your lease term. For the one that I just signed, it was a 2-year lease, so. And then I didn't have to furnish it, so I'm going to be straight cash flowing for 2 years with auto renewal. He may raise the rent, we'll see, you know. And then we have the World Cup coming in 2026. So, I mean, it's really all about your strategy. I mean, I think that'd be a good strategy to stay somewhere around $1,700, but you just have to know that you got to pay off that furniture first.
Yeah, no, there's like you say, there's a lot of different things that come into play. But I mean, the beauty of this model is you can do this in the middle of the city. You can do it out in the suburbs. You know, we've got 15-acre farms that we do this with. And of course, you know, the vacation type properties on the lake or the beach or the mountains, those always perform well. But, you know, from a master lease rental arbitrage strategy, you know, don't limit yourself to just the 1 bedroom, thinking that that's kind of the easy way to do it. You know, the 3 and 4 and 5 bedrooms are going to be a bigger spread. There's more money in the beginning to get those set up, but you're typically going to be looking at, you know, margins of anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000, sometimes more than that. You know, you know, we all did well during COVID as in the short-term rental space, and you know, we had a 4-bedroom house in Lawrenceville that we were managing for a couple that was moving down from Boston, and the house it's kind of in an average neighborhood. But the house itself was nice. It had an outdoor pool, outdoor kitchen, movie room. And so we started with the market for that kind of property in that area. We started around $350 to $400 a night. Got about 7 or 8 consistent 5-star reviews, and gradually increased that nightly rate up to $1,500 a night. So the property doesn't have to be on the beach or on the lake, or it's all about how you create the guest experience and how you manage the process to pretty much make sure you're getting those 5-star reviews as your top priority, because that's really going to make or break you, or let you know how successful you can be. And so we did about 18 to 20,000 a month on average on that property through COVID. And the property itself was probably a $500,000 house, nothing special, not a mansion or anything. And so, when you talk about the ideal property to arbitrage, when you've got a clean slate and you're kind of developing your target market and where you want to go, those are some of the things to think about. Is the uniqueness, and can that property lend itself to kind of have a resort feel if you furnish it the right way, and basically create that kind of environment for the guests.
Yeah, and based on my market research as well, for the areas that I've been looking, the houses that perform the best usually can sleep the most people. And shout out to Anthony Williams. Is that allowed? Shout out to Anthony. Of course. He wrote Big House.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish.
Yeah, he wrote what was it? Big House, Big Money. I read his entire book, cover to end. And he goes in depth that, big house, like the title says, big house, big money. Those are the number one performing houses usually in any zip code, unless you got
absolutely. Yeah. So Anthony Williams was one of the first folks that we that did the BNB Live with, and he actually attended one of my workshops years ago when he was getting started. He had probably maybe 2 or 3 listings. I think he's up to maybe 50 or 60 now in 3 different states. So yeah, he had himself and his team come into one of the workshops that we used to put on for short-term rentals. And so Anthony's done quite well because, as you described, there's niches within niches, right? So there's people that specialize in tree houses and tiny homes and container homes, or like Anthony, high-end luxury homes. So, if you find you gravitate to something you enjoy doing or that you like, and you can kind of make a niche out of it and be very successful with this business for sure.
Mm-hmm. And one more thing, funny story. Anthony was actually my first introduction to short-term rentals. So for one of my birthdays, I think I told you the story. For one of my birthdays, I stayed at his Airbnb. And the thing that stuck out to me where I knew there was short-term rental was for me was when the last 4 digits of my phone number was the keypad code. Because that just screamed system to me, system.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, this can be operated at scale. Obviously he had more than 20 listings on his profile at the time. I was like, okay, this is a system. This is definitely something I could be a part of. I reached out to him. He was kind enough to let me take him out to dinner a few times throughout this process, and he's just been there. And through him, I met all you guys.
Oh, very cool. It's funny how that happens, but yeah. So I mean that's one of the things that helps you scale, right? Because not only does it automatically change between each guest, but it also only works from the time they're supposed to check in and the time they're supposed to check out. Exactly. And so what does that do for you? That manages to make sure that you don't have somebody walking in on the cleaners or another guest that was there 2 days ago that forgot something. They have to communicate through you directly. They can't just walk back in there. So, and from a security standpoint, obviously, it's good to have that in place. Mm-hmm. So yeah. So what we know you want to get to 10 by the end of the year, and you're already almost halfway there. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen, or what are your goals beyond the end of the year once you're at 10?
Well, I have a few friends who've been seeing what I've been doing in the short-term rental space, and I'm kind of like the proof of concept for a lot of them. So, they're like, okay, Tim, I have X amount. I'd love to invest with you. And one of them's on standby, literally calling me every day, like, you ready yet? You ready yet? Because he'd like to do an acquisition with me. for a big house, actually, because I told him the spill about, I showed him the analytics and stuff in the meeting we had. But that's basically where I'm headed. I want to partner up with him and do acquisition, but I also want to do my own personal acquisitions. But I want to get the feeling of what it feels like to scale and see what the system feels like, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. And no, most definitely. And again, I touched on this earlier. The beauty of being able to employ different strategies is once you build that backbone operation to run your systems in place to kind of run the volume, it doesn't matter if your growth is through acquisitions or leasing or through management. It all goes in the same operational bucket. And, and you have the same resources and the same teams that are kind of in the background handling the operation for that. And so, once you get up to 50, 60 properties, you're still, a lot of the heavy lifting, make no mistake about it. You've been pretty fortunate with these first couple where you picked them up already staged, but most of the time you're going to have to take that 2 to 3 weeks on the chin and suck it up and get those properties set up. And so that's not an easy task. And so if you're going to have multiple of those where you have to set up. But the good news is once you got that thing set up and you put it into the process, you're pretty much on autopilot, right? And 50, 60 properties is kind of a good number to be able to have a kind of your back office team in place to maintain and handle the volume that 50 to 60 listings gets you. And when you start creeping above that number, that's when you have to kind of look at doing some expansion. My wife and I have ran this business over the last 8 years without any employees. I mean, we outsource in 1099 pretty much all of the different aspects of the business, including the VAs. And so, the last thing I want to do is, coming from the corporate world, I don't want to create a bunch of employees to manage. Again, this is the other beauty of this business. You set it up and you can run the operation by being dependent upon outside companies that are really doing most of the work on what you need to have done. And so
makes sense.
That's part of what we'll be teaching you to make sure that you can get to that level. But so no, I appreciate you taking the time today, Tim.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
This was awesome.
All right, cool. No, yeah, and I look forward to seeing how we get through the end of the year here and getting some more units and and getting some of those big acquisitions done. So I'd love to hear more about that. Are you looking in a particular part of town for those?
Yeah, probably somewhere on. So honestly, fun fact, my house is like the number one. I've been looking at the market data for my house that I own in Decatur, and I'm like the number one property around there. So I figured if I got another property near then, I would be competing with myself. A big house.
A big house.
For the 3 bedrooms in my area, I'm the only person that's is doing it.
All right, so I'm going to shift your mindset a little bit on that. Because you're the only one that's doing well, think about having 3, 4, 5 that are doing well instead of 1.
Yeah, exactly.
The volume is there to support it.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm with you on that one.
All right, very cool. All right, so thanks again, Tim. I appreciate it, taking the time. Thanks everyone for jumping on this week. And if you want to learn more about becoming a BNB investing program client, you can schedule a quick one-on-one call with me. We usually like to make sure that our goals and objectives are aligned with what you're trying to accomplish, and making sure that it's going to make sense and a program that's going to help you get to where you need to get. And so it takes a 10-15 minute call for us to do that. Send me a message on Facebook Messenger, and we can definitely send you the calendar link to get that booked and kind of give you a lot more details on what's involved here. But Timmy, congratulations again, man. Great job. And we look forward to hearing more about, how you do. We'll have you back, towards the end of the year and see how we're doing.
10 homes. All right.
Yeah. So we're going to hold you to it. We're going to hold you to it.
I appreciate it.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Tim.
Right.
Thanks for jumping on the BNB Investing Podcast this week. Please click on the subscribe and like button below. For more trainings, property tours, and content, you can join my BNB Investing Facebook group by clicking below. If you are ready to grow your short-term rental portfolio and maximize your monthly income, You can click on the link below to schedule a quick strategy call with Rich or someone from his team to see how we can help or point you in the right direction. Stay tuned for our next episode and hope to see you on the BNB Investing Group podcast.